human self presents to me many challenges that burden me. My heart center shines and calls to me. This is who I choose to be. Sometimes lessons.
Welcome to the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. This is Penny Fisher, and we are so glad you are joining us for this week's episode. Hello, beautiful souls. Such an honor and a privilege to be here with you as always. We are a week into June with all of the crazy energies of that swirling around us. And I hope you're navigating them with balance and ease. So today I want to talk a little bit about this idea of forgiveness. And full disclosure, and I'll share the details of this with you at the end of our time together today. But I happened to stumble across a forgiveness decree the other day as I was scrolling. And it really called to me and spoke with me, and I started working with it on a very regular basis. And I found that I've been having really deep and profound releases, a lot of crying, a lot of sensation in my body. And I was reminded how powerful this work really is. And so I just wanted to share this with you in the hopes that it will resonate with you. And as always, if it doesn't, just let this all float away from you, okay? I was led as I was doing this work to revisit a lesson in a book called The Way of Mastery. This book is divided into 3 sections. The first part is called The Way of the Heart, and it is an entire lesson on forgiveness, on what it is, how it works, how it heals, and then some practices. So I'm leaning really heavily on that resource. So if it's something that speaks to you and you want to check it out for yourself, that's where this is coming from. Okay, so for today, I want to think a little bit with you, and we're gonna look at 4 different pieces of this idea of forgiveness, and then we're gonna put them all together. Okay, so the first piece that I want to look at is this idea that especially in a lot of our cultures, and I don't know if any of you have grown up with this, I feel almost like culturally we speak out of 2 sides of our mouths. I feel like we are told to forgive, forgive, forgive. But the act of forgiving and releasing is, on the other side, seen as a sign of weakness, right? Especially if somebody's done or said something really egregious. Forgiveness is something that we're taught that we need to follow up. We need to hold people accountable. We need to they need to be punished. You need to give as good as you get, right? So it's this energy of judgment, right? And there's a passage in the Old Testament of the Christian Bible. Now, I don't know what the original translation is, because I've found that very often the translations from the original Aramaic, things get lost in cultural context and things. But I think there's a phrase, something like an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, right? And it all holds this profound energy of the need to punish someone else, right? I have my an elder in our family whom I adore and love, but I always hear this voice in my ear, right? Never apologize. It's a sign of weakness. And I just think that all of this disposition toward forgiveness is just, it's part of the way we're acculturated. Pretty much all aspects of society, right? Family, religion, our larger societal norms, like we're taught, oh, forgive, 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 but remember, hold them accountable, make them pay, right? And so here comes this first piece of our puzzle that I want to notice with you and offer to you as a different way of thinking about or understanding this this judgmental energy, this need to punish energy. When someone does something that I find hurtful or unkind or just straight up wrong, right? I when I have a need to judge it or even to forgive it, but really to judge, let's stay with the judgmental energy. I am directing that sense of judgment and even the need to forgive, I am directing that away from me, right? I am locating that behavior, that incident, that choice on someone else's part outside of myself, right? I'm pointing it away from me. I'm literally projecting it out of my own energetic field. And the way of the heart, way of mastery tells us this, and I'm going to quote here, right? Projection occurs when there has first been denial within yourself. Projection is an act in which you physically try to throw out of your ownership everything that you have judged as being despicable or unworthy of you, something you don't want. And so you will project it. You will throw it up and out and let it land on whomever happens to be nearby. Projection colors your brother or sister with the very energies that you would judge within yourself. And just because I always want to honor the author in my text, that's pages 30 and 31. Okay. So he says, when there has first been denial within yourself. In other words, I am seeing someone else's behavior and it feels on some very subtle, very subconscious level like I am looking in a mirror and I don't want to do it. And so I'm going to take on that stance of, oh, I'm better than that. Oh, I would never do that. Oh, I would never say those things. Oh, I would never act that way towards someone else. And I project it out. And I personally, in my journey, have found this to be incredibly challenging because I'm turning the whole paradigm right on its head. And it's something I've been raised with, acculturated with. I've heard it in my house. I've heard it sitting in the pew at church. I've heard it everywhere. This perspective asks us to consider that everyone, no matter what they've done to cause hurt or harm, whether it's to me or to someone else, everyone is simply reflecting back to me a place where I feel that I need to be forgiven. So it's not about me forgiving them. Because I'm projecting my stuff onto them, I believe they need to be forgiven. But if they're just my mirror, it isn't about me forgiving them. It's about me owning who I am and what I see in myself that I think needs to be forgiven. So the way of mastery, the way of the heart tells us this: to forgive means to choose to release another from the perceptions that you've been projecting upon them. It is therefore an act of forgiving oneself of one's projections. And as we begin to forgive, we begin to see how profoundly we have been coloring and therefore affecting all of our relationships through the simple act of not being aware of the power of projection. Whoa. So it's not about them, it's about me. And I will see in them what needs to be forgiven because I am terrified to look at it in myself. Right? And if we loop back to the world of quantum physics, if we loop back to the world of the tiny, we can tap into the science that supports this perspective, right? And we've talked about this many times in previous episodes, and I talk about it in my TikTok and Facebook videos every day, my daily gratitude journals, right? Remember that in the world of the subatomic, everything vibrates, everything. And contrary to what I was taught as a kid, that opposites attract, things that vibrate at the same rate will be attracted to each other. So, people and situations that we feel need to be forgiven can't come into our space unless there's a matching vibration, a resonant vibration within us. Right? So, for instance, if somebody blames me for something that I did, I can forgive them for blaming me for sure. And I almost said, but, and I don't want that. And I also need to look at the places where I blame myself for whatever that behavior was. Because I'm holding on to that. I think I've done something wrong. I don't like that part of myself. So instead of looking at it, I'm going to, I love what the Way of the Heart says, I'm going to throw it up and out and let it land on somebody else. And I've brought that experience, I've brought that person's behavior into my space because of the vibration of judgment that I hold within myself against me. I've brought somebody else into my space, and now I'm just going to project this onto them, right? That's tough because well, for me, it's been tough because it leads me to understand that I create everything that comes into my space, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? We can go a little deeper now. So we've got two pieces of the puzzle, right? We've talked about projection. We've talked about this resonant vibration, and we can go a little deeper into the world of the quantum and tap into this idea that I just threw out there that we actually do create our reality, right? In the world of quantum physics, there is something called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. And a tremendously oversimplified explanation is that matter, right, can be studied. It presents in two different forms. It can present as a fixed point in space. It can present as a wave. And if I decide that I'm going to study this particular packet of matter and I put it under one of those like wicked crazy microscopes and I study it, I want to study it as a point in space. And so when I look into that microscope, I see that matter as a point in space. Now I leave to go to lunch and my colleague comes in. My colleague is also doing a study and they're studying the same exact packet of matter, but what they're looking at is this, the matter's properties as a wave. When my colleague looks into the same microscope at the same packet of matter that has not been touched, manipulated, nothing external has been changed, intending to see it as a wave, guess what she sees it as? She sees it as a wave. We very literally create our reality. And so if we believe that someone external to us has done something so horrendous that they need to be forgiven, we are actually creating a reality in which more and more of those behaviors, those experiences are going to show up in our lives, right? Because I'm just going to keep layering over my own reality because I want to look at it. So that vibrates more and more, it draws more and more to us, and we create our reality. And again, I'm going to go back to the way of the heart. And he says this: you have an interesting saying in your world, it takes one to know one. Do you think you would even be able to judge another if there wasn't something within you being elicited that triggers within you the belief that you know exactly what that other is up to? That's why you judge them. Sometimes you judge harshly because you fear that energy in yourself, or you remember how hurtful you have been when you have acted from that energy. There is nothing you can be aware of in the energy of another that you have not known in yourself. There is nothing another can say or do or even imagine themselves capable of saying or doing that you have not also known. And when you perceive another acting out of hostility or fear or what have you, the only way you can recognize it is because you have been there. It takes one to know one, right? And that's pages 28 and 29 for my academic counterparts out there. All right. So let's put this all together. Number one, we know that only things that match our own vibration can come into our experience. Number two, we know that we literally create our reality by what we choose to see out in the world, right? If I choose to see love and light, that's what I'm going to bring more of. That's the reality that I'll see. Number three, when we see people through the energetic lens of all the wrongs that they've committed, we know that that's a signpost leading us back to ourselves because it takes one to know one. And finally, we project onto others that which we want to get rid of in ourselves or just ignore. We just want to pretend it's not there and it's not real, right? When we take all of those truths and we put them together, we are led to this beautiful truth. When we are willing to forgive others, it actually leads us straight back to ourselves. We don't forgive others because it's, and I'm air quoting, the right thing to do. We forgive others because it leads us back to the places within ourselves where we are craving forgiveness, where we are yearning and longing for some confirmation that we really are love, that we are light, that we're not whatever that shadow piece is that has manifested in us. The more we find the place to love and accept and forgive ourselves, the more clear our energy fields become, the more clear our channels and our connections are, both to our guides, our angels, to Source, to Mother Earth herself, the more our consciousness can expand and the more we can move through our lives with greater balance and ease. Right? We've used the image of the hose before, but let's go back to it because for me, at least, it's simple and powerful. Water flows through a hose until the hose gets kinked or twisted. And that creates a contraction in the hose and the water can't flow. Judgment, fear, anger, all directed at yourself, these create contraction and your energy can't flow. Forgiveness unkinks the hose. It opens the flow of energy, and now it can run throughout your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, your electric body. It can run without obstruction. And this healing can go even deeper. It can lead us to this understanding, to this realization that there is actually nothing external to us that can be taken away from us, that has any real value. Somebody could take my computer. Somebody could take my phone. I could lose my house. I could lose my money. I could lose an argument. But if I am secure in this space within myself of my true nature, of my true identity, then I realize that those are those things that I just named only have power and energy and value and worth because I have imbued them with that. Remember, energy is neutral, right? Energy does not hold any intrinsic value. We imbue it with value. But the vibration of love, the vibration of non-judgment, the vibration of compassion, these are the places where we can rest. And here's the crazy thing, and at least for me, the beautiful thing. When I know that that inner reality is all that I need, then I send that vibration out into the world. And what do we know about vibration? Matching vibrations will find each other. And so if I release something and I feel joyful and happy and open and uncontracted or expanded, right? Then I am able to allow or to draw to me things that are a vibrational match. When we live in the world this way, we are choosing to be in the world, but not of it. We are affirming our free will choice to feel free, to feel light, to release, to relinquish the heaviness of this burden of judgment, holding everybody accountable, of needing to punish people who have done things wrong. And that's a heaviness that we carry, right? And we don't need to. Their journey is their journey. What they say or what they do or what they believe, it's nothing I have control over. And when I feel like I need to judge it or punish it or hold someone accountable, I need to look at where I feel the need to do that for myself. Years and years ago, I read or heard something that said, forgiveness does not mean that what someone did to me is okay. It's not that it's acceptable. It's just that I am no longer willing to carry the burden of my anger and my judgment. And sitting here today with you after decades of work on myself with this, I would actually revise that. I would rephrase it to say forgiveness means that what has happened cannot affect me in any meaningful way. It has no value because everything that I need, I already have within me. And so I make the choice to feel the opposite of how I have been told I should feel. I am choosing compassion over judgment. I am choosing forgiveness over punishment. I am choosing light over darkness. I choose love over fear. And this choice is what defines us. You hear it at the beginning and the end of every one of our episodes, this beautiful song, "This is who I choose to be." And my beautiful partner, my husband, has written this song. It's amazing. And you get to hear teeny snippets. By the way, if you're interested in the whole song, you can find it right on our website, vibrationalalchemy.net. All right, so this is big. And how do we get started? And I'd like to share with you two practices that you can play with. Always, always, always remembering that you can start with what I'm offering, and I would encourage you to um, to play with it and make it your own. Right? If it comes from a place of sincere intention to be love in the world, you can't get it wrong. Right? So this is not about doing it exactly the way I say. Okay, so the first practice I want to offer you is a daily mindfulness exercise, and then I'm going to follow up by sharing that affirmation that got me started running down this path. Okay, and I'll try to remember to even pop it up on a resource page on the website. So if you need it, you can grab it there. You can probably Google it and find it. All right, so here's the practice. As you move through your day-to-day lives and your routines, I want you to start to notice when you feel contraction, right? When there's that kink in the hose, you're going to notice it in your body, right? When you have slipped into the place of judgment, you've slipped into the place of holding someone accountable, of thinking they should do things differently, right? And there's an earlier episode that I dropped about releasing judgment. And there's more in that episode about how you know when you're in a place of just objective observation and when you've slipped over into judgment. So I won't go into that here. You can certainly check that out. And again, links to all the episodes are on the website, vibrationalalchemy.net. So you can check that out. But I want you to start to notice when you have slipped into that space of judgment and just notice it. Right? You don't want to create more judgment by judging the judgment, right? And I want you to, whether you can do it in that moment or you do it later in the day, maybe before you go to sleep at night, or part of your meditation routine or your prayers in the morning, however it works for you. And I want you to bring up that experience again, that place where you felt like you had to be judgy or or want to punish someone else, or even places where you felt you needed to forgive someone else, right? And when you feel ready, you're going to say something to yourself like, huh, I felt angry, frustrated, annoyed, whatever it was. What is this situation or person or experience really triggering in me that needs to be healed? And then you just sit with it. You breathe. You open up to the flow of the cosmic matrix, this beautiful river of energy that runs throughout the omniverse and flows right out of the cosmic heart, of which is just pure unconditional love. And you allow that flow, that light, that love to come into you in whatever way feels right. You may feel flooded with it from the outside. You may feel it ignite within you. You may be invited to go float in the river. You may feel it coming in through your crown. I don't know. Just ask the cosmic matrix what is bet for your highest good in that moment, and then just allow whatever you experience. And you might experience nothing. You might just feel peaceful in that moment. But just trust that that vibration of judgment is being remembered, put back together into what it really is, which is love. It's being transformed and transmuted. It'll shift, it'll change, guarantee it. And whenever you feel that that work is done, you come back into your body. And remember, this might take a couple of times because this is big work. Okay, so that's the daily practice. And then the affirmation that I want to share with you is credited to Diana Cooper. I know Diana Cooper through her oracle cards. She's got some decks that are amazing. If you like dragons, check out her dragon oracle card deck. It's fabulous. Um, but where I saw this online, it was credited to Diana Cooper. I have been using this forgiveness decree every day, morning when I get up, and evening right before I go to sleep, right before I turn off the light. You use it as you feel called. So again, there are no rules. And I'm going to share it with you here. And then, like I said, I should really start a resource page for us so these things can go there. All right, so the forgiveness creed goes like this. So take a deep breath. Maybe if you can close your eyes, if you're driving or walking or doing something else that needs your attention, just let this flow over you. Keep your eyes open and stay focused on the road. If not, if you can, maybe just place your hand on your heart and let your gaze soften or your eyes close. And the forgiveness decree goes like this. I forgive everyone who has ever hurt or harmed me, consciously or unconsciously, in this life or any other, in every plane, level, and dimension, known and unknown. I offer them grace. I ask for forgiveness from anyone I have ever hurt or harmed, consciously or unconsciously, in this life or any other, in every plane, level, or dimension, known and unknown. I ask for grace. I forgive myself for anything I have ever done to hurt or harm myself or another, consciously or unconsciously, in this life or any other, in this universe or any other, in every plane, level, or dimension, known and unknown. I accept grace. I am free. All chains and restrictions fall from me, and I stand in my power as a master. My darling, darling soul family, this is a huge and potentially life-changing shift in perspective. It brings us into deep alignment with the truth of who we are. Aspects of source, God, creator, creatrix, all that is. And from here, from this place of centeredness, of balance, we're able to move through all of the stuff that life brings us, and it will continue to come. But we're able to navigate it with so much more ease, with grace, because we know that these are just things that are external to us and are here as these crazy gifts to show us where we can love ourselves even more deeply, where we can love ourselves the way that Source loves us. where we can see ourselves the way that Source sees us. Divine, perfect beings of love and light. And you know that is my wish for you, that you would see yourself that way, because it's who you are. I am so grateful to each of you for joining me. I am Penny Starhart. This has been the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. And until we are together again, remember, you are loved and you are love.
This is who